Thanks very much. So welcome to the Applications Open, all about the Discovery Community Fund. As Tiff said, I'm the Head of Supported Employment and Community Enterprise for Discovery, and I'm here to talk to you about the Community Fund, what it does, how it can help you. So what is it? As a not-for-profit organisation, Discovery reinvests 33% of any surplus that we have into the fund that supports across Somerset to improve people's health, independence, and any accessibility that people might have. The fund provides grants for a wide range of projects that are well planned and will make life better for people. Next slide, please. Okay, so who do we fund? There's 3 different categories of funds available, and they can be accessed by autistic adults or people with learning disabilities who live in Somerset that have an idea that they want to get off the ground or that they want to develop further, or organisations in Somerset that want to be more autism or learning disability friendly. For example, we could fund areas of natural beauty, museums and community centres, arts or music venues, and much more. And Andrew's going to tell you a little bit more about that later in the presentation. As I said, there's 3 different types of grants that are available. Small Sparks, which is for individuals, and their grants of up to £500. Inclusion grants, which are up to £10,000, and the Big Change grants, which are up to £100,000. And again, you'll hear about each one of these different funds from different people. You'll hear about how to successfully apply for each one of those, and you'll hear from recipients of those grants and what they've done with those. So with that said, I'm going to now hand you back over to Tiff, who's going to introduce you to the next speaker. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so as Alex was just saying, the Community Fund has 3 tiers available, 3 grants. And we're going to start with the Small Sparks grant. And to talk us through that is Jamie Newland, who is Discovery's Council Chair, and Becky Simmons, who's the Involvement and Engagement Officer for Discovery. Welcome, Becky and Jamie.
Hello, welcome everyone. So as Alex has already mentioned, Small Sparks are grants of up to £500. People with a learning disability or autistic people living in Somerset can apply to the fund for an idea that connects them with their local community or their, in more recent times, local online community. Jamie is Chair of Discovery Council. Oh, sorry, next slide. So Jamie is Chair of Discovery Council, who members of the council make up the Small Sparks panel, and he's going to talk about what you look at on the applications.
Yeah.
So next slide.
It's funded for a community.
Next slide.
And it's a checklist what to use the money and check it.
Okay.
And if you putting your pictures on internet.
So some of the projects that have been funded by Small Sparks already are
Yeovil Dance Group, a line on movies, and he had the fundings for the tools to do the work on the van. And she had a funding off for getting a bike for the community, and they have the funding to make the cakes for their party, and they have the funding for getting his own laptop.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Becky and Jamie. It's really good to see the different types of things that Small Sparks can be used for to help people connect with their community. And it's amazing to see that we have the wonderful Mark here on the last slide. We would think it was done on purpose because it's Mark speaking next, but it wasn't, just happened that way. I love it. So please welcome Mark Smith and Gina Pring, Supported Employment Officer. And Mark is going to tell you his story, aren't you, Mark? Hi, Mark.
Hi. Gia, can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you, Mark.
You ready?
Yeah, are you
Yeah,
ready?
let's do it then. Right. Who's doing the slides?
Not me, Mark, but you just go through on the
Right,
slides.
this is me. And can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. I live on my own in my own flat in Bridgewater. So things I like to do in Bridgewater were things I do with, I like to go out here. Next slide. And with COVID, I could not see anyone. Couldn't see my friends. I couldn't see the business have closed. Next slide. And I had to stay home. I was a bit worried going out. Next. I feel a bit bored and lonely. And there was no explaining. So the group of social workers closed, cancelled. So it was a bit by my laptop and with Gia, so I can talk to people with laptop.
And who provided the grant, Mark?
Small Sparks.
Okay. And how did that make you feel once they gave you the money for a laptop?
It make me more happier.
And why were you more happier, Mark?
So I can do my work on it and talk to more people.
Okay.
Next slide. Zoom, yeah, with Gia, yes, on Teams.
So did you learn to go on Zoom and Teams because you had the laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
Next slide. And with I had my laptop, so I could visit, might feel more.
And how did it make you feel once you had the laptop and you could talk to people?
More happier.
Okay.
Next slide. So I spoke to Gia so we can buy the smart color clothes so I can do my presentations to look for my job interview too.
So did you buy the clothes, Mark?
Yep.
And how did that make you feel?
More happier.
Because you looked smart for your interviews and smart then when you did your presentations.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the Small Sparks. So I could get a great to help me too.
And thank you, Mark and Gina, for sharing with us your story about the Small Sparks grant and particularly how important it was during lockdown and how that also helped your career, Mark, to go speaking online, as I know you do offline as well. So thank you for your time today in sharing that story. Next up, we have the crew from Open Storytellers, Leah, Emma, Clemma, and they are here to talk to you about getting connected. So welcome, Open Storytellers.
Hi. Hello. Hello. We're a charity based in Frome, and the Community Fund has helped support our Get Connected sessions. Those sessions are open to everybody, and they kind of cover four main things: friendship, So arts and crafts and creativity, well-being and community. Those are our 4 main themes within those sessions. So we've got a great place here where people can come and meet friends and be social.
And we do stories, and I, for one, do poems and different things. And been coming for 17 years this December, and I enjoy what I do. On every other Tuesday, I'm a peer mentor assistant. I work for these lovely ladies next to me, and I help people get themselves signed in, and if they want their nails done, I do that and stuff like that. And storytelling, we've done a story a little while back, which is only a couple of weeks ago, on a story called The Holly King and the Oak King, and I've done a poem for that as well, and it was very, very good, and a song as well.
So Clemmer's beaten me to it. Clemmer is actually employed by Open Storytellers as a peer mentor for our Get Connected sessions. And that's a really important part of what we do and supporting employment. But our sessions are normally fun, full of creativity. People can make things, people can work together as a group or work on their own projects. We have a fabulous well-being session that we run every Tuesday with a yoga therapist. And it's a really gentle sort of exercise session, but it's also great for sort of calming anxiety and stress, which has just been really important as people have come back, sort of returning to groups after lockdown and things like that. But we do a lot with community as well, and we kind of see ourselves as a little bit of a stepping stone. So we have lots of visitors that come and see us, like PCSOs and health professionals and people from job centres and employment. But we also go out into the community as well and get involved in lots of events.
Yeah, take pictures of the community, and then when we come back after taking the pictures, we would, I don't know, either draw it out or write about it, or sometimes put a poem into it, kind of thing.
And we've been to lots of exhibitions and theatre performances and Apple Day. We've planted trees with Frome Town Council. We've done the Frome Winter Wonderland events. We've done lots of different things. But one thing that's really special about the Tuesday is that it's open for everyone, and that's a really kind of important thing for us. And we're just about to introduce you to Brandon, who's coming in now, who comes to our wellbeing session, and he'd really like to tell you what that means to him. So just bear with us one moment. You're going to come here, Brandon? Sit here. Sit in that nice big chair. You see it, one. So what does the wellbeing session mean to you, Brandon? Again, look at you,
Brandon. So I'll do a bit of speaking for Brandon because I'm his PA and we communicate together sometimes by signing. So Brandon, on a Tuesday, when we come in and we see Becky and we do music. Yeah. Is it a good session for you? Yeah. And as a result of it, I'll just carry on a little bit. Brandon, one of Brandon's favourite activities, he loves all of them, is he started playing a musical instrument called the tongue drums. And we discovered, and the guitar. But we discovered that using the tongue drums was a good way of Brandon expressing himself and communicating and joining in with everybody independently rather than relying on me all the time. And as a result of that, we had a consultation and Brandon put a wish list in with Mencat and he was successful. So hopefully by next week, he's going to have his own set of tongue drums.
Oh, wow.
But not also, Brandon, he's learned now to sort of be silent, relax, whereas, you know, everything is very busy. Every activity we do is quite busy. So this is a wonderful opportunity for Brandon to sit relax, listen to himself as well as other people about how he feels. And it's been a really beneficial morning, and the support workers love it as well. So it's really, really good.
Thank you, Sheena. So what we tried to say, we skipped to the next one, the last one in our application, is we've really tried to just tell stories about the people who come to Open Storytellers and what they get from the activities, and what the community fund supports. And we've tried to be really clear what we're spending the money on, and we want to show we want you to hear the voice of the people that come to Open Storytellers and what it means to them. And I think that's it.
Oh, what a wonderful session. Thank you so much. I was smiling all the way through that. Thank you, all of you. Too many to mention, but it was lovely to see you all. And great tips as well. We'll have more tips on how you write a good application at the end of the webinar, just before the Q&A. But right now we are having a 5-minute break. And when we come back, Sadie Webber from Somerset and Avon Rape and Sexual Abuse Support will be doing a 5-minute presentation. So we're just giving you the option, if you'd rather not attend, to come back in 10 minutes. Otherwise, if you would like to hear how SARSAS is going to be coming into Somerset and how they will be able to use the fund to provide services, then please come back 5 minutes from now, which is basically 12 o'clock. See you then. Okay, welcome back. And now we're going to hear from one of our newest grantees, Sadie Webber, who is the project coordinator from SARSAS for the Learning Disabilities and Autism team. So congratulations on your new grant, Sadie. We're looking forward to hearing all about it. Over to you.
Thank you, Tiff. And I feel like I've got quite a tough gig to follow the brilliant presentations from Mark and the Open Storytellers, but we'll give it a go. So yeah, thank you. So I'm Sadie Webber and I'm the project coordinator for the Learning Disability and Autism service here at SARSAS. And SARSAS is the Somerset and Avon Rape and Sexual Abuse Service. And we support people across the Southwest who've experienced sexual violence or rape at any time in their lives. We are absolutely thrilled to be a recent recipient of the Community Fund and to be supporting our service for autistic people and people with learning disabilities in Somerset over the next 3 years. So for the last 6 years, we have developed a programme of specialist support work, but the majority of our work has been Bristol-based. We applied for the funding as we recognised that there was a gap in the needs for this service in the Somerset area, and there's nobody else that provides this service for people that have experienced sexual violence. So to give you a quick overview of what it is that we are providing. So we provide one-to-one specialist support for autistic women and women with learning disabilities. And what this means is that if someone will have a support worker that they meet with regularly, and they support them to provide practical and emotional support. We have also established a lived experience group to help us guide and support our project. So what this is a group that meet regularly. It's a group of women that have received a service from us, and they're going to help us to give feedback on the project and help us improve our services, because it's really important to us that we hear the voice of people that we're supporting, and we use that to make things better in what we do. We will also be setting up group work sessions, and we'll be delivering healthy relationship and consent workshops. So we'll be delivering that to autistic people and people with learning disabilities. And we'll also be offering training to professionals, so such as support workers, for healthy relationships and consent work. We'll be setting up a professional network, which will bring organisations and agencies together who work with women who've experienced sexual violence, that we can support each other and work more closely together. Could we have the next slide, please? So, as I said, feedback is really important to us, and I thought this was just a lovely bit of feedback to share with you about the service that we provided. And this is from one of our recent clients, who said, over the past year, SARSAS has been a constant support. I've been able to significantly identify a variety of issues that I've been dealing with and why, as well as figure out proper ways to cope and deal with them. The workers are kind, patient, compassionate, and always there to lend an ear and help you. Could I have the next slide, please? So this is a bit more about the application process itself. We found it quite a straightforward process. The guidance that came along with it made it really clear that we need to evidence that there was a need for the project and how we would meet this need. There was a strong focus on partnership working, which really appealed to us as an organisation. So, for example, making the most of our regional knowledge and our resources. It was also really clear that we needed to set clear kind of objectives and outcomes that we'll be meeting throughout the course of the project. So our top tips for applying for the funding is to really show clearly the impact that the project will have, so what difference the project will make, and how you will measure the difference your project has made. So how will you tell if your project is working and successful? Finally, don't overpromise. I think we all get very excited when we're offered little pots of money, but I think be realistic about what it is you can do in the timescales that you've set yourself. And good luck.
Thanks so much, Sadie, and we're so pleased to have you here in Somerset.
No problem. And I will actually, Tiff, it's okay, I'll put, just in case for anybody, you know, that did trigger anything, or anybody who'd like to make more contact with us, I'll pop our contact details in the chat box.
Fantastic, please do. That'd be brilliant. Okay, and it was great to hear some of those tips as well, and a really good segue to our next speaker, Andy Ridgewell, Senior Programs Manager for Somerset Community Foundation. And if anybody knows how to write a good grant application, it's Andy. So welcome, Andy. Can't wait to hear what knowledge you have to share with us today.
Thank you, Tiff. So as you've heard, I work for Somerset Community Foundation. We're working with Discovery to manage some of their funding for them. So as you've heard already, the Small Sparks programme is for individuals. The larger inclusion grants, the big changes grants, are grants for groups, and that's the part we manage on behalf of Discovery. I'm mainly going to be talking today about the mechanics, the actual process of making an application to us. I'll give you some examples of the sorts of things we're looking to fund, and I'll also give you a few more tips in line with what we just heard. I'm mainly going to be referring to the inclusion grants today. That fund is open and you can apply for it now. The big changes grants will be open soon. The same principles will apply though when I'm talking, okay? Could I have the next slide? Thank you. So this is the most important thing I'm going to say to you. You don't need any experience of writing grant applications to apply to this fund. If you've never done it before, that's absolutely fine. Go ahead and give it a go. What you do need to do is talk to us if you're not sure about something. So pick up the phone and call me, or send me an email, either before you've started an application, or if you're partway through and you've got stuck, then just talk to me and we will help you through that. And I'm sure we can share my details around at the end of this. So if I could have the next slide. So to make an application to us, you have to do two things. You have to fill out an online form and you have to attach some documents to that form. If for whatever reason you can't use our online form, then again, talk to us and we'll help you make your application in a different format. And likewise, if you have trouble attaching documents, talk to us and we'll find a way. You can email them to us. You can even put them in the post if you really need to. So again, we will work with you, but the core of it is an online form and some documents you have to attach. Next slide. So in terms of filling out the online form, there's a few things you've got to do. You've got to start by completing some basic questions about your group. And these are things you're probably going to have to hand, like the group's address, contact details, whether you're a charity or a community group or a social enterprise or something else. They're all the sorts of things you'll probably have to hand. You then need to write some longer answers to some questions, and I'll give you some more information about that in a moment. And then finally, you need to provide some budget on the form. Next slide. So in terms of the longer questions that you need to provide answers to, these are the questions you need to answer for the inclusion grants. So I'll just go through these quite quickly. The first one is, what sort of place, space or service does your group run? So we just want to know the background. What is it you do? Why do you do it? For the inclusion grants, we do ask a specific question around who isn't benefiting from this. So we're really keen to understand how you see your beneficiaries and who you feel is currently not able to benefit at the moment or for whatever reason. And then thirdly, what would you do with the money if we gave it to you? How would that improve accessibility? How would it support those who haven't been able to take part in the future? The fourth question, how have you involved adults with learning disabilities and autism in your project? We're really keen that you talk to people with learning disabilities and autism as early as you possibly can to understand their needs and what they want and what their aspirations are. So you can really capture that in your plans. The fifth question, how will you ensure they will benefit from these changes? So obviously what we don't want to do is fund something that's there to benefit people with learning disabilities and autism, but then they don't know it's there, they don't know how to benefit from it. So how will you promote it? How will you make sure people will benefit from it after whatever it is in place? And then the final long question you've got to answer is, how do you keep everyone safe? So that's a question about safeguarding rather than health and safety. So we want to understand how you keep yourself, your staff, your volunteers, your trustees safe, and the people who come along and benefit from whatever it is you're doing. So those are the longer questions. So you've got to write a few paragraphs for each of those so we can understand what it is you want funding for. Next slide. You then need to provide your budget. So we need you to provide a breakdown of the costs. So if there's some staffing costs in there, we want to know what they are. If there's bits of equipment you're buying, whatever it might be, we want to see what those are. And then finally, we want to understand about match funding. So what I mean by that is whether you're asking us for all the money or whether some of the money is coming from somewhere else. We don't require match funding. We just want to understand, if we're not paying for everything, where's the rest of the money coming from? Next slide. And then at the bottom of the form, you've got to attach your documents, as I said earlier. And those documents are your group's constitution or your governing documents. You might call it a set of rules. We need a bank statement. We use that to do some anti-fraud checks, which we do with all of our applicants. We need your group's accounts, and we need your safeguarding policy as well. So as I said, they can be attached to the online form once you've filled in all your answers, or if you have any issues with that, you can email them to us or send them in the post if needed. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to give a few examples of the sorts of things we're looking to fund. And this relates to the inclusion grants I'm talking about at the moment. So just a reminder, these are the grants up to £10,000. So the first example is an area of natural beauty. So an organisation that runs a green space like that, they might want to use a grant to have an access audit so they can understand some of the physical barriers that people face to enjoying the outdoors. They could use some of the rest of the grant to replace some stiles, so improve some footpaths. They could even buy a tramper so they could offer guided walks. So interested in green spaces, outdoor spaces, could be a park, could be a woodland, an area of natural beauty. So those are the sorts of things we're interested in there. Next one, please. Similar vein, local museums, but this would also apply to other kind of heritage sites. It could be arts centres and those sorts of things. So, for example, they might want to redevelop a website so they can include more pre-visit information so people can get better prepared for their visit. They might want to use a grant to buy sensory aids or to buy information packs. They could even train their staff so they can support people with additional needs better when they arrive at the venue. So museums, heritage centres, art centres, all those sorts of things. Next one. So slightly different here. This could be an example of a charity that maybe delivers some sort of service to support people. Maybe they've moved those services online as a result of the pandemic. We might want to use a grant to make sure that those services are still fully accessible and are able to be used by people with learning disabilities and autism. So that might require some tech support of some description. It might require some staff training or something else. So that's a service rather than a place or a place or a space, as we've been talking about so far. And then I think the fourth and final example I've got here on the next slide. So leisure or sports provider, so a sports club, a leisure centre, something like that. They might want to use a grant to buy specialist equipment. They might train their coaches. They could offer care or friend support, or they might want to create new teams for people with learning disabilities and autism, and then integrate those teams into their club or their centre as a whole. So those are just a few examples. It's not exhaustive. We're interested in a whole range of different ideas, but those are just to give you some prompts of the sorts of things we're looking at doing. Next and last slide, I think. So some tips, and these kind of go back to what we've already heard before from a couple of other speakers, but The first one is plain English. You know, we don't really need lots of technical language or anything like that. Remember that those of us who are going to be looking at your applications will have an understanding of what you're doing, but we probably aren't going to be an expert in what you're doing. So just bear that in mind when you're writing. Get your key points across, and just make sure, you know, you've got those key points that we can understand that flow through your application. Next tip is don't rush. So this is a rolling program. It's open for the rest of the year and it'll be open into next year. So take a bit of time to think about your plans and discuss it with other people in your organization. With our online forms, you can fill some of it in, you can save it as a draft, and you can share it with somebody else in your organization to work on it. So just give it a bit of time, think it through with your colleagues. The third one is work together. I think grants like this can work really well with partnerships. So if you've got other organizations in your area doing something similar or complementary, then could you work with them in partnership on a project under this fund? And then the fourth one, really importantly, be bold. With the inclusion grants, we really want to break down barriers. We don't want to sort of tinker around the edges. So, you know, try and think about how you can use this money to really break down those barriers. And then finally, just consider other funding. So anytime we will have 3, 4, 5, 6 funding opportunities open on our website, and Discovery is one of them. This fund might be the best one for you, but equally there might be something else which ends up being a better fit. So I'm going to close by just taking it right back to the beginning and say, if you're unsure if this is the right fund for you, then pick up the phone or send me an email. And again, we can just talk through that and work out if this is the best opportunity for you. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you, Andy. I'm just wondering if you wanted to speak out your phone number or email or put it in the chat box. I think there's been some issues with the chat box, so also attendees, if you have anything you want to say to us, you can use the Q&A box. So Andy, did you want to speak out your details, or will you
I'll put it in the chat, I think.
Okay.
I'll do that now, okay?
Thank you. That's great. Thank you so much. So now we're going over to my lovely colleague, Sarah, who has been working hard in the background, like Charlie has, bless her, with the slides, and Nicola also. But Sarah's here to bring up the questions that we do have for our panelists. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that. It was a really interesting presentation, and I've certainly learned a lot. We do have a number of questions come through. Some are for the panelists and some are just general questions. So let's go ahead. The first one, I believe, is probably best for the Discovery gang. What kind of adaptations do you think are most needed across Somerset?
So that would probably be really good for Alex, who's just come on camera, and maybe Becky and Jamie or anyone else from Discovery here.
So there's several that are needed. So that's about adaptations to be more wheelchair friendly for a lot of places, to make sure that they've got appropriate access, but also something big across Somerset is about accessible changing places. So making sure that you have the facilities that people need to be able to use the spaces that you have.
That's great. Thank you, Alex. I'm wondering if there's anything that Jamie would also like to add, because I remember being on a session where, Jamie, I think you were talking about signages a lot. Is that right?
Yeah, if people's blind or deaf, they need something they understand. If you have blind people who can hear, have like make a DVD out it, and then they watch it on their DVDs. And signs in the buildings, and they understand. Like if you go to hospital, and all the signs are rubbish, I think there be these sort cafes and hospitals and buses and taxis and more and trains understanding where you're going.
Thank you very much, Alex and Jamie and Becky. Over to you, Sarah.
Fab, thank you. The next one is about the Big Changes grant. So somebody's just popped on to have a look at it and it says it's coming soon. So when will that be opening?
I could probably jump in on that one. So we're looking at opening that in the next couple of weeks. So it's very shortly is the answer.
Fab. And actually this one's related. So how long does it take between applying and being funded?
So we're looking to make decisions probably every 8 weeks. So we're looking at a turnaround of, yeah, I would say 8 to 12 weeks realistically from beginning to end.
Thank you, Andy. This one's come in for open storytellers. So there's 2 questions, so I'll fire them over to you now. What area do you operate in and how can I be a part of it? There you go.
There we go. Love those kind of questions. We're based in Frome, so we're sort of right at the eastern edge of Somerset. First thing I'd say is go on our website, have a look at what we do. You're welcome to give us a call. Our number's 01373 454 099. And you're very welcome to come on a Tuesday and try out different activities. And we do taster days and we'd love to meet you.
Thank you very much. And the next one is there an age limit on the funds?
The funding is for adults, so that's what we're looking to fund. So there's no higher age limit, but there is a lower age limit. Yes.
Lovely, thank you. And to confirm, the large grant is the Big Changes grant. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And that's opening in a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Fab. Some questions have come in about for you at SARSAS and Sadie. So when will you be beginning in Somerset?
So we already have our specialist support service established in Somerset, and we are actively taking referrals. I am more than willing to kind of answer, if anybody wants to contact us directly using the telephone number or the email address, please drop me a line. Also, if there's any organisations that would like me to come out and speak to them, then I'm more than happy to do that as well. Yeah, we do have our wonderful specialist support worker already working in Somerset. We've got a base in Taunton, and we can also see people across Somerset. Lots of our groups and things will be rolling out towards later in the year, but yes, anybody that wants more information, please do get in touch.
Lovely. And is there a waiting list for those other groups that are coming later in the year that people can join?
We will be setting up lists of people that are interested, yes.
Lovely. And then a general question about it is, how do I get started as coming for those? How do they get started with SARSAS?
Yeah, how do you get started with SARSAS? Absolutely. If you would like to contact us, you can contact us on our telephone number, or you can email us on our information number. We also have a website where we've got some easy read information on there as well that you can access. We have put the email address and the telephone number on our chat. Something also really important to mention is that we do have a helpline service. So that helpline service operates across the week, and you can call that helpline at any point and speak to kind of somebody on our helpline if you'd like to talk to them. And then they can also put you in touch with our learning disability and autism service.
Fab, thank you. A question is, when can I apply for Small Sparks? When's that available to apply to?
Small Sparks you can apply for really at any time. They are open generally to people, and then you will. How often do you meet?
It's monthly.
Yeah.
But it's the Sparks. What we do, I got half this in my head. But when people we funded, they want them money for buying something. If we do this again, where people come on and tell them what they done, what they spent, I'm thinking, can they put what the date is and what day they get something for pay for what they got the money from, then we know what day they pay it and the date we hand it to them.
Yeah,
Fab.
keep all that
Yeah.
record of all.
Yeah. No, if they're writing and they're telling us about it, it'd be nice more to know where they got it for.
More of a follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fab,
sure we
thank
can
you.
include that.
Just so, final question to go to everybody really is, what's it been like working with Discovery and the difference that this project has made to you and your projects?
Oh, that's a hard one to know who to go to first, isn't it?
Shall I mean, I'm happy to come in on that one. I mean, what I would say is we're one of the main charitable funders in Somerset. We're not the only one, there's other ones. There's never been a fund specifically for learning disabilities in the county before that I know I've ever been aware of. So the partnership with Discovery has been incredibly valuable in that we've been able to create this. And we now have this opportunity to, I think, really make some significant changes. And so from the point of view of the Community Foundation, it's a hugely beneficial and valuable partnership.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. If you have any more questions, please do feel free to contact us. We'll make sure everybody's contact details come up with this. There will be a replay sent out, so you'll be able to send it out to people that you know will help. And just a massive thank you for everyone who's spoken, who's come together to make this happen, and for you as well for attending and getting the word out there. As you can hear from Andy, this is quite a pioneering, groundbreaking fund that can really make the difference across Somerset. So the more people that know about it, the better. So on that note, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate your time, and a massive thanks to our speakers as well. And good luck with your application. Bye for now.